I just got done listening to a profound interview of Ben Sasse, who is an American political figure, a former state senator from, I guess, senator in general, on the national level from Nebraska, and a guy who's written a couple books, just has lived an exemplary life in so many ways. Well, recently, as many may know, he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer and doesn't have very long to live. And so there has been a lot of talk about him, but then also he's been featured on some interviews on reflecting on his life. And I just found so much of what he said to be so fascinating. But there were a couple things that stood out. I think one, his analysis of what's going on in Washington and what his experience was as a senator in the legislature was essentially this appeal to the vast majority of Americans who are disengaged in politics to become more engaged in politics. He made the argument that there is a vast majority of people who are just completely disengaged. There's a very minor minority of people who are hyper engaged and have made politics their end all be all. They're the center of their identity, the center of their idea of what will save their existence, essentially. And those are the crazies that we listen to. That's the noise that comes on our social media feeds. And his argument was essentially, we need to have more normies in politics. We need to have more normal people do their time. And the reason why Congress can't get anything done is because there are a bunch of people in Congress who want it to be a career, who are afraid to do anything significant for fear of losing their job. And there's a lot of arguments, obviously, intertwined in that, like term limits and different things. But he made the argument that the founders had designed it to be very similar to George Washington, where George Washington had to be compelled to do his public service, and then he wanted to go back to Mount Vernon and do his normal life. And the other thing that's so profound about that, I tend to agree with him on that point. I think that there's a lot of room for average Joes and average Americans to get involved in the political process. But the other thing that's just so striking about how he presents that is he also places the value where it should be, or the importance on the things that should have that importance and value, i.e. family, church, local community, your business, like just the everyday small life that you live on a day-to-day basis, and how important that is, and how much politics has turned into an entertainment industry with a bunch of people who just want to be TikTok stars on Capitol Hill, and how government is really a necessary evil, and we should just keep it that way. We should keep it that way, and each of us should do our civic duty and then move on to what's really most important in life. And at the moment of death, as he is, that's the family and his community.